Because all we need to do is give you permission for you to be you.
Oh my goodness.
When you know who you are, you'll know what to do.
That's amazing.
This moment, you've been waiting for this your whole life.
Oh my goodness, I wish I was in the same room because I just want to hug you.
You can't fix a problem using the same thinking that created it. And by the way, beautiful, you didn't do anything wrong.
Thank you.
Your show is not a show, it's an experience.
What do you do, Stephen?
I'm the universal courier that's been sent to answer your doubt.
Thank you.
What the heck is happening right now?
And it's happening live.
My life's about the gift I've been given to make you the gift that you are.
Ready cameras, studio standby.
Video is ready for live.
If I enter your life, it will change. Start investing in the world called your dreams. Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome to Inspiring Insights. I'm here with Shelley from Toronto and from Rob. Old Abe is here. How you doing? Hey Shelley, how are you? How are you going today?
I'm great today. So excited to be here.
I know, it's pretty cool. How about you, Rob? How you doing?
I'm fantastic, man. Every single day because I'm breathing, so I'm always off to a great start.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Listen, we're going to do some more intros with the two of you in a second, but first thing I wanted to do was just do a little bit of a thing called a masterclass. If I can hit the right buttons on this thing. I just want to jump into a masterclass. When I'm finished with the masterclass, what I'm going to do is get both of you to give some insights to how it resonated with you. Everything we're doing this week is about the concept of building the confidence to give. And it's very much around the series we're in at the moment. Started off with fostering forgiveness, trusting self to letting go, and then your confidence to give. So we do some definitions in terms of building is to create, to increase, and to strengthen. Confidence is belief in your self-powers, your self-trust, and your self-reliance. Quick pause on this for a second, everyone. Most people think confidence is what you do before you start. Confidence is your belief in your ability to do whatever you start. And then finally, to give is to present, to hand, and to grant opportunities both to you and to others. So in Sede land, we define building confidence to give to create belief and self-trust in all opportunities that you create for yourself and for others. But okay, Steve, that's great. But how do you do that? Well, first thing you do is you've got to have something to do. You've got to have something or someone to love, and you've got to have something to look forward to. And in the coaching I do, both business and personally, that's about your end state vision. Not so much just a goal, but your end state vision. And I'll come to some examples in a second. So what you look forward to is your end state vision. Then what you love to do, or someone or something, is basically the group of actions or activities which we call strategies. They're called campaigns in the online world, funnels if you wish. And then lastly, what's the next best thing and the next step that you need to take? So let's just do an example on this for a second, and I'll bring everyone back for a sec. So let's just do an example. Let's say that I actually want to set a vision to travel to America to throw an American football with Rob and teach him how to kick an Australian football, and then head up on my travels to Toronto and to catch up with Shelley. Immediately I've set an end state. So if I go back to what we were doing on the board, immediately I've set an end state. My strategies and groups of actions then fall into what about immigration and visas? And obviously there's COVID issues at the moment, but let's just park that for a second. So what is the immigration and visas? What time of the year am I going to go? What am I going to do with my work? Am I going to do any work when I'm there? What ticketing, what airline ticketing do I need to do? Where's my accommodation? How am I going to do my transits? All of these things become grouped activities before I then take each of those grouped activities and go, right, what do I need to do with my passport? What do I need to do with my ticketing? What conversation do I need to have with Rob and Shelley to be courteous about when I arrive? So everything that you do is something to do, something or someone to love, and something to look forward to. Because here's the thing, everyone. When you've actually set something is like, for example, use travel, because that's great. When you've set the idea of, I'm going to go play ball with Rob and I'm going to Toronto to hang out with Shelley, isn't your confidence mile high that you'll find a way to get through all the things you need to do when you've set your mind to something? So confidence to give, in the context of the way that I operate, coach and mentor and deal with people, you've actually got a conflict. We live our lives in some type of conflict in what we're doing, what and who we're loving, and what we're looking forward to. We always arrive at some type of crossroads in the same thing of to do, to love, and to look for. But the big kicker here is your commitment to achieve something regardless of those conflicts and crossroads. And if I come back to this just a second, conflict does not mean a passing of someone. Conflict does not mean and it does, but it just doesn't mean that. Conflict might be a conflict of interest to you at work, where your work, your culture, your mission of work has gone in a different direction. Crossroads might be that you've actually discovered that you might want to start and leave the corporate journey and go on an entrepreneurial journey. Conflict might be that you've decided that maybe this relationship is not the one you want to commit to for the rest of your life. Crossroads, and I'm sure Rob and I don't know Shelley's circumstance in terms of family, crossroads is when your children start hitting 15 and 16 and wonder if you actually know what you're talking about after all. So conflict and crossroads is not just about, oh my God, I've had some type of death in the family. That's one of them. Conflict can be as simple as you waking up in the morning and questioning yourself, is this the mission that I want to continue my life with? Really important to reflect on that in that sense. So commitment activates your confidence. My commitment and my joy about traveling to the States and Canada to catch up with Shelley and Rob all of a sudden activates my confidence, because I don't care what I have to do. If I've made a commitment that I'm going to get through a conflict, a crossroad, or a target in my life, my confidence is activated. Most people suffer from an absence of confidence because they've got an absence of commitment. So you can only build confidence, your belief in your self-power, self-trust, self-reliance, so you can give, to present, to hand, and to grant opportunities to yourself and others. You can only do that through your brilliant, unstoppable commitment. So let me just go down the path as we head towards the concept of a confidence to give statement. Everything I do in my business and in my life, from ordering a coffee to the work that I do with the Sede guests, is I mentor in excellence, which is your brilliance. I coach in your confidence to create and make you unstoppable. So everything I do is I'm a mentor in excellence, and I'm a confidence coach, an unstoppable confidence coach. And I deal with people who have three characteristics. They're at some type of conflict, or in some type of conflict. They've arrived at some type of crossroads. But if you haven't got a commitment to do something about one or the other, I can't help you. And it is the filter of how I work out who I will engage with. If you haven't got a commitment to pass through conflict and crossroads, there is no brilliance, there is no unstoppable confidence. So everything I'm doing, and I've been a little quiet on social media, everything I do is produce content from Sede Insights. Everything I do is to produce formulas, what I call Sede formulas. One of them is inspiring. Listen to this, everyone. One of them is inspiring you to think through my mentorship. The other is motivating you to act through my coaching. So here's what I call my confidence to give statement. And I'll be asking this of you, not so much for you to answer this directly, but your input for this, Shelley and Rob. If you have the confidence to give to yourself, if you have committed to beyond your conflict and crossroad, and from this place, if I enter your life, it will change. So my answer to you is, what is your courage to give statement? If you have from this place, and it doesn't have to be that prescriptive, but let me ask a couple of things as we do Sede takeouts. What is the something that you have to do? What or who is that something or someone that you love? And what is that something you look forward to every single day of your life? Remembering, as I said earlier, if you don't have a commitment to the conflicts and the crossroads in your life, you cannot activate your confidence. Shelley and Rob, what's your thoughts on our little chat just a moment ago?
Ladies first.
I knew you were going to say that. It's coming at an interesting time. Yep. It is true what you say. I think that as part of my, so I'm on the mission to, a mission to end bullying behavior. One of my things is the Decide to Be Kind campaign on LinkedIn. And my whole idea is that, if you believe in something and you do it, because you're going to come in with all kinds of naysayers, and and they can be influential. There's no doubt about it. But if you, as you said, if you commit to something, on the other side, that you can create positive impact. So I know that as I go along with this campaign, that no matter what happens to me or who comes into my life or who says I can't do it, or even maybe when there's times when when my confidence wavers a little bit because I think, do I have this all under control? Can I actually make a difference? It doesn't stay there long. I just do it. I don't allow any of those. So say I get a little bit of a inkling of not having that confidence, or that my confidence could be wavered, that is a sign for me to just keep going and get through it. And if I don't believe that I can make a difference, then I shouldn't be doing this. But at the end of the day, I believe that I can make a difference and I can impact bullying, something that I had when I was growing up, and decided that when I got on LinkedIn and became an influencer on LinkedIn, that I wasn't going to see that kind of bullying happen on LinkedIn. Not with me, with all the people around me that deserve a place and have a voice on there. But there's a lot of negativity that comes out because people, don't necessarily support something that you've decided that you wanted to do. And you just have to kind of waver through that and believe that you can make a difference, that every single person has the ability to make a difference. So when I think I can't, that is when I think I can. And I just go through it.
That's good.
One of the things that comes to mind, you mentioned the word mission. So straight away, your mission is some type of future end state. And a future end state is going to be a place and a time that you arrive at. Think of my conversation about think of how detailed I was in the context of my conversation. And I know a little bit more about Rob's background than I do of yours at this point, Shelley. I'll know by the end of the show. But I was specific about an American football, an Australian football, kicking and throwing it with his son. So when you're talking about your mission, one of the things to do is get very specific about the place and time and almost visualize yourself throwing a ball, going for something lovely to eat in Toronto, for example. So first of all is your end state of your mission. Second of all is all the individual clustered activities, which are called strategies that you need to do. And then in each one of those, there's individual next steps that you need to take. And as a result, people often say to me, Steve, you're so organized in everything you do. And it's like, as I'm sort of ADD or whatever they call it, which I'm not, by the way. It wasn't invented when I was born, so I was never labeled with it, but I don't have it or whatever it is. But what I do is I know what is the end state of what I'm trying to do. In that end state, what is the end? I've got to buy a ticket. I've got to get my passport done. I've got to check in with transport and all of the things when I traveled a lot. So in your mission, Shelley, what you want to be able to do is when you say the concept of stopping bullying, is to be able to storytell about what that looks like in terms of a place and a time. Then in each individual case of that mission, what are the individual activities that are grouped together? And then in each one, I've got to get a ticket, which airline, which seat, go to seatguru.com and pick out which seat that I like and all the stuff that I used to do. With my passport, what do I need to do to get that renewed, which is coming up? So when you've got a place and a time, you'll start visualizing all of the clustered activities. Once you've got the clustered activities, you start talking in the detailed steps. Now, all of a sudden, you've got the comment of my future state is I want to help people in the concept of bullying. My present state is what's the next thing we need to do about it right now. And along that journey, you will constantly have some type of crossroad and conflict. The conflict, it'll be in you and it will be in them all the time. Another thing to do is take conflict and crossroad and put it into this model. What's my conflict end state? What are the top things that typically are going to come up? And what you do is you then start going, here's conflict 1, here's conflict 2, here's conflict 3, here's conflict 4. All of a sudden, you've now created a landscape of content and dialogue to create in your coaching and mentoring and training programs. Makes sense?
Yes,
oh, 100%.
Rob.
That's good.
Right.
I tell you, the crossroads and the commitment. That's the crossroads and the conflict. That's the commitment seems like the bridge to it all. It's like the glue to everything.
Yep.
And it's such a big thing to spend a whole lot of time on, commitment. I'm glad you're doing that because you can want to do everything. You can want the end state. You can want to live, love, and all the things necessary, but when you haven't formulated the commitment, it won't stick. It reminds me of the chicken and the pig story. Well, the chicken and the pig starting a business together, starting a store, and the chicken says, "Yeah, let's start the store. The pigs and the chicken says, let's serve bacon and eggs." And chicken says, "I'll provide the eggs and you provide the bacon." Pig says, "What? You're crazy." He said, the chicken's like, "Why?" He said, "Man, because look, you're just interested. I'm committed to this. Basically, you're just giving a couple of eggs and walking away. I'm giving everything." But the point is that commitment becomes the real glue, and it shows that you're really that you're really invested. And then what that does is you do it once, then the next day is even easier, and the third day gets even easier, and that commitment becomes a habit. And then you can walk up this beautiful triangle and pyramid and go to the top like you're talking about. I love it, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely love it.
So one of the things to think about in the context of what is commitment, what is it, what isn't it, what is it? To a lot of people, commitment is some type of stated vision. Shelley, have you got kids?
No.
No, okay. So we'll use Rob as the example because I know he has. How often does your wife and yourself sit around and actually make a commitment through a stated vision of what you're going to do with your children?
Every day.
No, but is it a stated vision, or have you made a stated decision when you decided to have children?
Mm-hmm.
Once they arrived, your commitment to have them and the invitation in the context of children, bringing them into your life, your commitment is now a set of actions. And those actions are based on a set of principles. Those principles were discussed when the two of you decided to have a family.
Right.
So what happens is a lot of people talk about what their vision is. And they can talk about it, and I'm not criticizing them for it. But one of the things I pride myself on with what I've been doing, and it's the reason I've been a little quiet across social media, is the level of action that's going into the 11,000 videos I have that I've been making in the last 9 or 10 years. The principles of, if I enter your life, it will change. It's a commitment. In the same thing that your children entered this life because you invited him here, Rob. Your attitude is, I'm going to give you the best opportunity for you to have it. So in a lot of cases, a commitment is not a stated vision. That's just the commencement of the actions and the principles that are the day-to-day activities of what you do to commit to what your vision initially was. So your vision in the context of your family, your wife and yourself at some point in time decided, let's the two of us start a family. And from that point onward, the actions and the principles of how you would raise them was never discussed again. It was just actioned on a basis of principle, which is the commitment as to why you do what you do. Most people don't have a commitment because they're too busy talking about what they're going to do before they go out and do something else.
So true.
Make sense?
No, 100%. 100%.
So it's not so much that's not a challenge, but one of the things is make a statement about what you want to do. And then once you've made that statement, i.e. going to have some kids, then your actions and your principles are what takes you on the next journey of what you need to do. Really, really simple. So let me ask you again, Rob, how often do you sit down and actually have a discussion about the stated vision of looking after your children? Or are you actually having a conversation about the actions and principles to commit to what you decided the moment you agreed? Does that make sense?
100%. Actions and principles for sure. This is definitely where it is.
So the actual foundation stones of a commitment is the actions and principles. For example, I've got a gentleman that I met recently here at back when you could go out in Sydney. But I met a gentleman, he's 29, he's been running a business for 20 years. Sorry, he's 29. He's been running his business since he was 20. He's got engaged because his wife's about to have his fiancée wife is about to have a baby in January. And when I met him, his crossroad and conflict, and it was a combination of two, was I've been running this business for 10 years. I'm now 29, about to turn 30. So there's a whole bunch of stuff happening in his brain as a man. He's about to get married to this beautiful lady and about to have a child. So in the first couple of months of 2022, he's going to be 30 with a wife, with a child. And his biggest challenge is, do I deserve the fact that I just was running a business? So when I spoke to him, I said, do you realize that you've got people in your business that are apprentices that are soon going to get engaged? They're going to use the dime from your business and your idea from 10 years ago. They're eventually going to get married, eventually have children, and you might end up being the godparent if that's their preference and selection. Have you realized your business is the foundation stone of other people's commitments? And you need to spend less time wondering about whether you deserve it and more time about why did you start in the first place. Write this one down, everyone. You lose your focus when you forgot why you started.
Dang, that's good.
You lose your focus when you forgot why you started. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that.
Yeah.
So any more thoughts on either of those?
Yeah, you definitely lose your focus. You lose your energy. When you lose your focus, you lose your energy. And so, like, how do you not lose the focus? You know, everybody. So, you know, it's a thing that we know we shouldn't do. But what are some strategies or some things to keep our focus? You know, that's the main question. How do we keep that focus? I know I should. Right?
Shelley, can you tell the American off for answering questions before we've gone to questions? But that's fine. So, how do we lose focus? Right? I mean, seriously. I mixed my pens up today, so I'm not sure which one's the good ones and not the bad. So you're talking about the loss of focus, correct?
Yep.
What did we say? Thank you, man. What did we say end state was? What did we say strategies were? What did we say tactics were? In simple language, what is it that I want? What are the groups of things I need to do to get it? And what's the individual things in each of those groups? So in my case, every single statement that comes out of my mouth is a next step to some type of strategy to the end state of what Sede is. It's the reason the show is running the way the show is. It's the reason there's new shows coming, academy show coming, where I'll be in 2 different sets inside of here. It's the reason there's podcasts coming. Because my attitude is I'm currently locked in this room in isolation here in Sydney because of the outbreaks that have happened here, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. And here's the thing, everyone, in terms of part of your situation of focus is what are the structural elements that make up the ability for you to do what you do? So my focus right now is I've got 11,000 videos. I've got an academy with 16 classes in it. I've got a studio inside my house. I can't leave the studio. I don't have kids. I don't have a partner. That's just my circumstances. So guess what, everyone? What is the price you pay in your life and what is the prize? Because the price I pay is the fact that I don't have that infrastructure of a family. I don't get to play ball and all those things. No regrets. That's just the way that my life is. So I thought, right, whatever your price is, it's also your prize. If you want the prize of love, you're going to have to pay the price of putting it out there. If you want time, the prize of time, you're going to have to spend time to get it. If you want love, you're going to have to give it. If you want money, you're going to have to spend it. So the very first thing about focus is, what are the structural elements of focus for you? What are the components that enable you to stay focused? So if you think of your children again, Rob, your focus is based on their reliance on you. And your focus is on the basis that you invited them in here. I always look at, I never had kids and it's easy for me to say this, but I kind of take the attitude is you invited these children into this world. You're kind of obliged, if you're going to invite someone to a party, put on nice music and nice dance and a nice shirt and make them feel welcome. Cool?
Yeah.
Rather than, hey, come to my party and then resent it when you walk in the door.
Yeah.
So if you think of, number one, the components of focus, and my pens are going to give me grief today. The components of the number one way of keeping focus is what are the components? What have you got to work with? lots of content, lots of courses, studios, and a lot of time available to me. And ironically, can't really go anywhere for the next month or so. Great. What is my end state? So what have I been doing? What if I clustered the content? And my good friend over in Perth, Trevor, said to me, Steve, you're very insightful and you're very instructional. To Sede Insights, whenever I say something, that's very inspiring, Steve, very insightful. So I then I took my 11,000 and I split them in half. One is going to instruct and the other one's going to be called the Sede Formulas. I'm going to have a live show called Inspiring Insights and a live show called Academy because those things are related. So before I turn this into a promo for me, which I'm not going to, the very first thing you need to do to activate focus is what have you got to work with?
Mm-hmm.
Number one. Oh, Steve, I don't understand what you mean. How focused are you on raising your children? How focused are you on the welfare of your elderly parents?
Mm-hmm.
You sit down and go, my children are this age, they need this from me, they need this from me. My elderly parents are this, this, and this, so they need these things from me. So the very first thing when you've made an end state commitment to your children, to an elderly parent, to a love, to a business, the very first thing you do is make a decision on what it is and then ask what the breakdown of what you've got. If you think of what I did with Shelley in the opening comments, I just said, you've got this mission, love you for it. What's the detailed, structured, individual clusters of all these activities and what's the first step in each one? Basically gave you a framework of how to create a coaching platform and a course out of it.
Mm.
The very first thing on focus is, what is it do I want to achieve? Bearing in mind, not talking about your mission, it's the actions and principles. The actions are what type of tools and information have I got? What type of principles do I want to operate with? That's the first thing. The second thing is to then break it down into what are the individual groups of activities of things that I need to do. Rob, and we won't do this, but Rob, if I went into each of your children or asked you about each of your children, there would be a certain set of activities that are applicable to each of their age groups and genders. There'd be a massive similarity. But you playing ball with your son out, as I've seen you do a few times, is probably different to what you do with your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
It's still under the time of giving her time, giving him time, but the actual elements of giving my boy and giving my girl time, there's a different set of activities. But guess what? It's under the cluster called time with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense?
Yep. Yep.
And then
Absolutely.
all of a sudden, playing ball and dancing, as I've seen you do with both of them, but now becomes a tactic. So the first thing is in focus. Number one, what's the combinations of things that I have? Number two, what am I trying to achieve? Number three, what are the strategies that I need to do into the grouped activities, right down to need to spend time with the kids and I need to have a difference between a boy and a girl. Number four, what are the individual tactics? What's the next best step I need to take?
Mm-hmm.
Number five, what's the conflict that's going to come? How do I understand what the conflict is? Replay the last 6 months, the last 6 years of your life. The conflicts are freaking obvious. And they're going to come both internally and externally. And then number six, what are the crossroads that I'm going to come to? And then number seven, because there's always a number seven, go back to the beginning, review, reflect, refine, and go again.
Mm.
Now I'm doing this really quickly, but most people's focus is, I've got this mission. Okay. Yep. And I can't seem to get anyone to like my mission. I can't get enough likes and comments, and I'm not getting enough traction. I know I'll do Facebook ads. I know I'll do LinkedIn ads. As opposed to what have I got? What's my end state of what I'm trying to achieve? What is the grouped activities I need to do? What are the individual tactics under each one? What are the typical things that come up and butt me in the nose? What are the typical things that come up and butt me as crossroads? And then how do I review and reflect on what I do and do it again?
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason I'm doing the show by myself now, because I've gone through this process. There's nothing wrong. Bless all the people that helped me to get here. But I took a focus on what it is that I can do. What do I want to get to? How do I want to do it? What are the tactics I need to do? What are the conflicts and crossroads? What's the review? And go and go and go. So let's do it again. If you want to have focus in your life, what are the things that you've got to work with that enable you to have a mission? In that mission, what are the individual things that group together? Under each of those, what are the individual tactics? And then what is the conflicts and crossroads that typically come into your life based on what you're trying to achieve? So if I asked you what are the conflicts in the crossroads, and we won't go into details out of respect to you, Rob, but if I asked you what are some of the conflicts and crossroads that are developing and evolving with your son as he gets older, you'd be able to rattle them off.
Oh yeah.
You probably even know what you're probably going, it's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? When I asked you, if I asked you about your daughter, it'd be similar principle but different.
Yep.
Make sense?
So true.
Most people's focus falls at the very first thing. Most people think, I've got to focus on what my mission is. No, what have you got that enables you to support the mission? Let me say that again, everyone. Your focus is determined on what have you got that can support the mission that you have. I can have the mission as much as I like to beat Novak Djokovic at a tennis match. It ain't going to happen. You know why? Because I haven't got the toolkit to do it. What's your toolkit that you've got that enables you to do focus? I know Renee Michelle, for example, does a lot of work around sexual abuse with children because sadly, and I'm not betraying any confidences here, it's very public with the way she does this, amazing lady, she had that in her life. I won't go into details. So she's got, sadly, a toolkit of how to address that and help people with it. Would I put out a course on how to raise children? No. Could I do the psychology of what's happening inside of children's brains at different times? Yes, I could. Would I actually have the skin in the game to be able to understand the relationship with children the way you do, Rob? No, I don't. So guess what? I don't do it. Number one thing in focus is what have you got that will support the mission? Because most people set a mission without anything that they've got.
Right.
Makes sense?
Take an inventory.
Yes. Shelley, how does all that resonate while I clean the board?
Well, it's really strange that I'm here because I've lost complete focus on pretty much everything. So it doesn't mean like, so what I'm struggling with now is to continue the focus. The mission is there. The idea of being powerful and have an input, I think, is there. But I have lost focus, and not only on my mission around what I'm doing on LinkedIn, but I find that I've lost a lot of focus in a lot of different areas recently. It doesn't seem like I'm my normal self, which I mean, I used to be this person who seemed to be able to put out something and see it through, but I struggle with that a lot these days. So it's really interesting I'm here tonight.
All right. Well, we're going to come back to you with a question after this.
My question away. My question is, how do I bring people together even though we're far apart?
How do you coach people to trust their passion?
What are the top 3 qualities that I should look for people for me, my brand and business?
What can I do not to make myself so tired and exhausted from other people's pain?
Question away.
Rob, we'll come back to you in about 30 seconds. So, Shelley, what's your question? What are we going to talk about? Have you just indicated what it is, or do you have another question? And don't be surprised that in season 1, and Rob will be able to speak to this, and people who have seen the show, people would come on the show and at the end of the masterclass change their question. It's not why I do the masterclasses. So, was there a question you had in mind, or have you already indicated what it's going to be?
So I think my question would have to be, especially right now in my life, would be, what is it that I can do to get my confidence back to ensure that I can take something on and get to the end? So see it through. That would be my question.
Say it again. I got it. I just want you to say it again. I want you to hear what you just asked me.
So what is it that I could do to regain confidence so that I can, kind of do what I used to do, or at least feel I used to do, to take something on and see it through to the end?
Okay. I'll just make it that one, which is easier. Let me drive this guy. Where's the board gone? Oh, where's the board gone? Hey, everyone, we've lost the board. That's not good. Rob,
yep.
While I fix this problem,
yes, sir. Yeah. So interesting. You know, this is a very, very important subject and something I've been intrigued with for years. This thing called focus. I even wrote a book, Shelley, called Hocus Focus, The Magic of Laser Focus. This is like 6 years ago. It's on Kindle. I think it's sold like 6 books, but who cares? All right, I wrote it. But the point is that focus thing, like how do you get back? And really interesting. It becomes simpler than we think. It really comes down to those daily affirmations. It comes down to the verbalization of the visual of the end game, which Stephen was talking about. And it's the verbalization that creates that inspiration that then keeps you moving forward because you verbalized it. So the verbalization actualizes it to an extent, and that gives you that little step to make it a right foot, left foot, right foot. And obviously there's more to it. But for me, that has been the best thing. Actually, really vocalizing and writing out the vision, the thing that I feel, and then taking those steps. And by doing that and verbalizing it, it's been a little helpful. Stephen got the icing on the cake and probably some better cake.
Yeah, I feel that inspiration is what I've lost. Like I've lost a lot of my inspiration, which has affected my focus and my confidence.
Ever since I've scored LinkedIn Live, the last couple of shows, the top camera keeps going off. I don't know why. Anyway, it's the only reason it's happening, but never mind. We get to do interesting things like find out that Rob's done a book, which is really cool. Confidence is impacted by 2 things: events of assurance and events of disruption. So and we don't have to go into the details of these, but something has disrupted your event, and that's dented your assurance that you can do what you do. The third and most important thing, and I should do it this way, this is B, this is C, and this is actually A. A, your focus is basically the actions and principles of what you've agreed to do. And it's everything that we've also said, which is kind of interesting, which is probably why you've asked the question. Your actions and your principles are based on the mission that you've got. So if we do it that way, your focus is based on actions and principles, the mission, your vision. So when Rob and his wife decided to have children, they decided there was a whole bunch of principles and actions as to why they wanted to do that. I'm not going to go into the details out of respect to Rob, but they made a decision that we're going to have children. These are the actions and the principles of everything that's going to happen all the way up until you walk them down the aisle, for example, and all the way past all of that stuff. So very first thing that's happened is your focus has been interrupted with some type of disruption. You've lost your level of assurance. So this has gone up, this has gone down, and you've actually lost sight of this. Because nothing's changed in your ability to do this. What has changed is the circumstances, which are what's my actions and principles, what's my events of assurance and events of disruption. So, for example, everyone gets told that they've got to work from home. Oh my goodness, I've got to work from home. Or alternately, what's happening in Australia right now with all lockdowns and everything, because our complacency of most of last year of not having COVID very much has now come back and caught up with us, which is a shame, but it is where we are. The end result is most people's actions and principles is determined by someone else's agenda. So then all of a sudden, everyone gets told to work from home and it's a pandemic and everything. And it's like, you mean to tell me I have to stay at home with the people I love in the house that I've built and I don't know how to handle it, because human beings are creatures of habit. We're creatures of habit. I guarantee, Shelley, your habits have been interrupted in some way. And that's filtered down into your actions being interrupted. Your principles have not changed. They've just been parked because it's all got too hard a little bit. And your assurance you can do it, which is undermining your confidence, is now being owned by the disruption of, I listen to your language, and I'm not being critical, but I'm just playing back your language to you. Steve, I just don't have focus on anything.
Well, maybe it's an exaggeration, but
No, but
that's how I feel.
Yeah, no. And none of this is a criticism. Part of it's not a question of being exaggerated. It's a question of almost this, your disruption has now taken ownership of your whole psyche. So the end result is, I just can't seem to do anything. And if anyone's seen this show and comes on as a guest, it's not a light touch. We're not going to sit here and talk about the weather. And the only reason I'm not going to go into details is because I'm not going to do that in a public forum. Something has happened, and guess what? It's either some type of conflict or some type of crossroad has arrived that has questioned your mission, and your mission has not been questioned. It's always conflict, and crossroads is not questioning your mission. Rob's mission with his wife to bring his children up in the way that he does, when he gets a conflict and a crossroad, as the kids get older and they question things and all the million and one things I don't understand because I don't have children, Rob doesn't have a conflict and a crossroad with the original decision and mission and vision of having a family, the actions and principles of how he conducts himself with a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old son who seems to know more than he does all of a sudden. Does that make sense, Rob?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So the end result is these conflict and crossroads is not your mission. It's something to do, and it's not your principles. It's with your actions. So I would suggest it's not a question of how much confidence you've lost. It's how much action you've stepped back from.
Mm.
Would it be fair to say that you've stepped back from a lot of your actions? Actions being activities.
Yes.
And the origins of that is because some type of conflict and crossroad is through some type of disruption. And disruption doesn't have to be someone coming saying your stuff doesn't work, or some disruption might be simply that you just get tired. For example, the last 48 hours here in Australia, the Sydney thing was initially 4 days, then it went for a week, now it's 2 weeks, now it's a month, and the government are now starting to put some pretty serious money out. It's clearly evident it's not going to go away. And to make matters worse, some guy went who was positive to the 50,000 stadium MCG. So it looks like Melbourne's going to shut down probably by the time I come off this call. In the last 48 hours, everyone, my crossroad and conflict of after all of this work to get all of this stuff set up, then all of a sudden this has happened and I'm thinking, oh, for goodness sake. And I sat on the balcony yesterday and just went, oh, for God's sake. And I was sitting there thinking I should actually turn live on and let everyone see that Steve's not this guy who's just relentlessly superstar-y all the time. I sat out on the balcony and went, in the great Australian comment, bloody hell, what is all this crap about? Mm-hmm. And I did, and there's a crossroads of now what am I going to do? But what I did, and especially with the show, because some type of action, being the show and hanging out with you guys today, made me realise why don't you live here by yourself, Steve? No one comes in the apartment because I don't want anyone coming in here just now. Why don't you set a separate studio up and do 2 shows a week? Because people like it when you do the live. Why don't you start actually recording this stuff and putting it out of the podcast? Because guess what? People want to hear what I've got to say. Mm-hmm. And the only reason there's not a lot of traction on my social stuff now is I understand if you're not out there helping others, don't expect to put something out and everyone jumps on it. So number one for you, Shelley, number one, what action can you take in the next 24 to 48 hours to stimulate your confidence and to reignite your commitment?
What can I?
Yeah. The very first thing you need to do is take some type of action that's going to stimulate your principles and action back to your mission. Or let me ask you this. Have you lost your appetite for doing stuff around bullying? You can't be bothered anymore.
With bullying and with other things as well. Like I just feel like I just feel I'm at a stage where it hasn't lessened in importance, but I guess I don't know what it is. I just lost, maybe, I don't know if it's lost focus, but that's a good way of putting it. It's just I don't have the same inspiration and motivation. I have the same belief, I have the same desire, but it's like I don't have the energy to see it through. And then there's a part of me that now worries or something that comes up that I usually didn't focus on before, but just not getting to the end or not succeeding the way that I'd like to, and then that holding me back as well.
Yep. One of the things that I've been doing, doesn't matter where this gentleman is, and this is not a Y, even though it looks like a Y. You're going to journey down the road of life, and I'm going to have to go to blue now. Blue doesn't like coming off, so I try and avoid blue. The road of life. Oh, this is going to be really hard to get off. The road of life, for example, actually comes to things with crossroads and conflict. So what's on the other side? What's beyond your crossroad and conflict, Steve? What does that mean, Steve, that if I've decided to and obviously we won't use the children as an example, but if I've decided to do a certain course of action, and then along that journey of that course of action, something happens, which is a cross conflict or a crossroad, does that mean I have to find another way of doing the same thing? Or do I amend what I'm doing? Is this opportunity for you to reflect? Remember the 7-point plan I told you about? Shelley, is this an opportunity for you to reflect and refine what you're doing? Because maybe there's something else you're being called to do. Doesn't mean that you completely turn your back on the bullying concept. But too often we've made a decision that that's my end game. Remember what I said, the 7th thing was refining and reviewing what you're doing. A week ago, I talked about doing a second show about the Academy. It was basically predicated, and for Laurie who's watching, it's not that I missed doing it on the Monday night. Like I said, it was, Laurie, I just wanted to get everything else done before I started off on another thing. When I first came up with the idea about the Academy show is that no one knows what's inside the Sede Academy apart from a few people. There's a reasonable number, but not the great majority. People just think Steve's this inspiring guy who's got on a whiteboard. A week later, the Academy show is an opportunity for me to take advantage of. I'm in this apartment by myself. I can set it up as a studio. I don't have to have kids running around because I don't. My price and my prize. I don't have to answer to a lady who probably doesn't want to have a studio built in her living room, respecting that because that wouldn't be fair, and even for me. So in the last week, the crossroads of me doing a second show has become not about showing people what's in the Academy, but utilizing the facilities that I've got to reach even more people. So one of the other things to do is you're in a period of refinement and review at the moment, Shelley. What you think you're in a period of almost stopping. What's another word for stopping? Questioning. I'm questioning why I'm doing what I'm doing. Everyone, start thinking of getting rid of the word question and start thinking of refinement.
I like that word.
What word's that? Refinement.
I'm going through a period of refinement.
Yes, because if you say to me, how come I can't get this to work?
Yeah.
Like for me, for example, how come there's not a lot of commentary on my stuff right now? And I started posting and it's pretty cool stuff. And I know everyone says it's great. How come there's not enough? Hey, Steve, the world works by you supporting others and they support you. Forget about algorithms and all that stuff. It's not fair to think that I put out a video and get all of this stuff. And the reality is I'm only looking for one person at a time to touch. So one of the things you want to do is, like for me, here we'll do a role play with me. Or no, let's run into Rob. My boy's coming and he's questioning me more than he used to because he's getting older and obviously being influenced by other things. Good and bad. That's cool. It's part of growing up. We all did it. Does Rob then question whether he's a good parent because his son's getting to an age where he's starting to challenge and ask his dad questions because he's learning himself, especially in the world we operate in? Yeah. Does Rob have to refine as his son grows and matures?
Yep.
Do we 100%. Have to refine? Yeah. So the end result is, because if you just said to, hey, Rob, how come your kid's not listening to you anymore?
Oh, I actually went to YouTube about that. And when RJ hit that age, I went to YouTube and said, how do I handle my 13-year-old son? How do I communicate better with my teenage boy? And I got back I got parallel answers, and the main one was listen more than you talk. And that was a refinery moment for me. I was definitely questioning my parenting for a second because we had the best relationship in the world, and it changed because he was adjusting. He was changing. So I needed to grow myself. I needed to refine myself as a father, as a parent. And I did. And I'm still doing it. Still watching videos. So I got other ones coming up now. As you were saying, now my daughter, she's just started dating. I said it, no. And so I'm watching videos of how to deal with that. How do I internalize this? How do I be a supportive father and not one of those overbearing ones that she doesn't want to be around? Anyway, don't get me on my box.
Message from Uncle Steve. I'll send you a cricket bat and the answer's no until you're 30. Done. That's my parenting advice for young girls who start dating. That's why guess what? No one ever asked me that question because it's just dangerous to ask me that question, clearly. And I said cricket bat because they're probably hard to get in America. Shelley, refinement is open. It's considered. It's reflective. Questions are either open and closed. Would you like me to come visit you in Canada? Yes or no?
Yes.
Would you like to go out on a date? Yes or no? Sorry, this sounds inappropriate. Would you get asked, do you want to go out on a date? Would you like to have fries with that? Would you like to buy my course? Would you like to actually engage in come on my show? Yes. And 90% of people's questions are not closed. They're open. Sorry, 90% of questions are closed. Can I do this? Yes or no, it's closed. But if you start refining, you come to open, considered reflection. Because if I said to you, spend the next 48 hours refining your reflections on where your focus has gone, guess what you're going to start doing? You're going to be open to considering and reflecting on what's happening rather than go, guess what? I don't seem to be able to do anything anymore, Steve. It's closed. Most people's questioning is closed. Especially today in the instant gratitude of world we live in. Like my stuff, yes or no?
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Okay, I just put a video up about a little boy dying after 40 days, and the first thing you say is, I appreciate you, and you've got kids. You didn't watch the video. It might be good if you just don't say anything. Yeah, but I'm trying to trigger the algorithm. Oh, for goodness sake. At what expense? You see what I mean? So the number one thing, probably a way to focus on this so we can go chat with Rob, you need to stop asking yourself where your commitment to your focus has gone and start asking yourself, how do I refine my thinking? What's happened? What am I considering? And then you might think, yeah, but Steve, what should I be considering in this refinement? What disruption? What assurance? What conflict have I come across? What crossroad have I come across? Remembering what Steve said. I hit a crossroad yesterday. Oh my God, I'm going to be locked in here for another 2-3 weeks. What am I going to do? And then I said, oh God, what am I going to do? It's like, some people live in isolation. I'm living in solitary confinement. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then instead of going, oh God, I'm locked in. Am I locked in? Yes, I'm not allowed to go outside. I went for a walk the other day and I was in the Botanic Gardens and I stopped to take a photo with Shannon, if you're watching Shannon, to take a photo for Shannon because she's doing a podcast here in Australia. And whilst I stopped, the ranger went past and on his walkie-talkie said, this is for exercise only, don't stop. Because you're not allowed to go outside and it's really strict here in that sense. So the end result is I sat back and my refinement after I stopped and had my moment of, oh, crap, what am I going to do? Was what can you do in this environment? What assets have you got? And that's where I came up with the things that I'm doing now. So Shelley, the number one thing for you to reflect on is start thinking of refinement and stop asking yourself questions as to where your focus has gone. Let me answer where your focus has gone. Right now, it's gone. It might be down in America playing ball with Rob, but it's gone. It's gone. So your situation now is to go to the 7th stage of our little map that I had earlier, which you can watch again on the replays. You need to refine. Is that a solution? No, but guess what? When people do ask open-ended questions, what should I do? What should I do is a closed question because it predicates that you've got the answer. Not you, me, or whoever you might be asking. I'll go and read Rob's book. Rob's book will give you things to consider and reflect on. It probably won't give you the answer. Guess why? Because you're not Rob. Most people think if I like all the stuff that I do, could I actually spend an hour with you and fix your focus? I would probably get you a lot further closer than you are now. Would I fix it? No. The only one who's going to fix it is you.
Right. It's the way that we internalize it and then actually take action with what we internalize, how we synthesize the information and how we step with it. Yeah, you're right. Everything is theory until then. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Rose between two thorns. The reason no one can fix it but can only assist your refinement, the reason is you're the one who has control of your actions. You're the one who owns your principles. It's your principles and actions that form the foundation of your commitment. Your commitment activates your confidence. That's why people are going out, Steve, and I have this sometimes, people say, Steve, tell me what to do. I can draw some fancy stuff on a whiteboard and sound really impressive, but all I'm ever going to do is get you into a situation of believing your brilliance and having unstoppable confidence. Guess what that is? Believe your brilliance, Rob, that you can be a great dad like you hoped you would be when you first started the concept of going on the journey of being a dad and with your wife, and then go out and spend the rest of your life proving to yourself the decision you made to invite another human being into this world was one that you'll honor forever. Here's the last one. You can write this down, Shelley. What are you prepared to honor?
What am I prepared to?
What are you prepared to honor? What are you prepared to honor? I've got no my focus is gone, Steve. Okay, focus on what you're prepared to honor. Are you prepared to honor your actions? Are you prepared to honor your principles? Hey, Rob, are you prepared to honor the actions and principles of what you did by inviting these kids into this world? Yeah. Did you ever think when you were 19, running around being a cool dude, did you ever think one of these days, years later, you'd be sitting watching YouTube videos about how to talk to a teenager?
Maybe in a lucid dream.
So one of the things in it is, everyone, what are you prepared to honor?
Yeah, that's big. What are you prepared to honor?
I know, it's very big.
What are you prepared to honor? Like in my case, everyone, I'm not married. I was, but I'm not anymore. I don't have kids. Too busy running around making money and all those types of things. I have no time to regret because it won't make any difference. So my attitude now is this ability for people to ask me things on the spot and say stuff that I say, this ability for me to have a room where I can turn it into a studio. I'm going to honor the prize that for the rest of my life, I'm going to create family in every single person. So I can say, just as a flippant comment, even though I meant it, would you like to go out for dinner if I came to Canada? Yes, I love that. Would I love to come and play ball in America with Rob and his kids? You're damn right I will. And I will bring a cricket bat and talk to his daughter. So what am I prepared to honor? I'm prepared to honor the price that I've paid to be a 58-year-old guy in the situation that I'm in. Because instead of going out and trying to fill the void of companionship or fill the void of having a woman in my life, and there's nothing wrong with that, I'm going to honor that, again, my language, everyone, the God-given gift that allows me to have people ring me up on the spot and write stuff on the board, and I'm doing it live. I don't know where it comes from, but I'm honoring the gift.
You are. I was going to actually mention the fact that we've been talking and you've been breaking out lessons based off our current dialogue. Everyone's been following that along. I just think that's amazing. I mean, it's one thing to have a PowerPoint presentation ready, but it's another one to be able to teach people principles as they're speaking and then have breakouts and bullets. That's dope. Love it, man.
Well, all I've done is to try and create the show, and now that I'm doing it by myself, I'm trying to get the flow of it because there's all different videos and everything that can play in it. We'll come to that in a second. But one of the things I want everyone to understand, what are you prepared to honor? And here's the biggest thing. Rob will honor his commitment to his kids. He'll honor the commitment to the love of his wife. He'll honor the commitment to the family that he's got. But here's the big one. What are you prepared to honor about you? What are you prepared to honor about you? Oh, yeah, but Steve, you don't understand. I'm too busy honoring my children. I know, you invited them here. You have to. I look at I'm on a love affair with every human being on the planet. So I want to honor every human being that comes near me, whether I'm just going for coffee or not. I just want to honor everybody. Why? Because I'm honoring the gift that I've got, because it's the only way I'm going to make sense of where I am in my life. Where Rob is in his life right now is he's got teenage children. Where you are in your life right now, Shelley, if you don't have children or whatever your circumstance is, the flexibility that you have, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? You're not tied down. There's nothing wrong with being tied down. Katja, hey Katja, who's in the Storm and Tiara. I'm sorry to hear that you've got COVID. I hope you do well in the Netherlands. But Katja, say hello to Storm and Tiara for me. Katja's got children. Single mum. She's honoring the fact. She only told me a couple of days ago, she's made a decision to honor that fact, and she's really in love with herself and her power and looking after her children. Shelley, what are you in love with in your life? Because you've got to have something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to. And right now, the someone to love needs to be you, because you've disrupted your connection to your actions and your principles, and you need to refine on what you can do. A lovely lady who's got a story and a commitment and a mission about supporting people who have been disrespected. Is that bullying? Yes. But bullying comes in a lot of forms. Go and look at Google and think about the concept of bullying. What's the other things around bullying? And start looking at the other things that you might reignite your interest. Because bullying's about discrimination and intolerance and indifference and people's disrespect to each other. It's about domestic violence. It's about all of those things. You go and explore all of those in the time you've got available because of your circumstances, and all of those things become kindling to the inferno that's called your honor. Because Rob's honor towards his children burns like a furnace inside him. And if you've not noticed, my honor for your welfare, Shelley, burns in me like a furnace. Your fire hasn't gone out, beautiful. You just need to rekindle it.
That's
Rob.
It's good.
There you go. We've gone off on one for a little bit. I don't need to do my intro thing. We've done the intro thing. Rob. And I'll leave up it as is right now. So, although one thing I am going to do, let me do this really quickly. And have your truth, drive, intent, and sentiment, and share that with the world every single day. Because it's why you're here. So feel it and go tell the world, here I am. And you don't deserve it. Other people do, because your life's not about you. We're going to do some aha moments, like a wrap up at the end of the show that we did all the way through season 1. So if you're watching the show, put in the comments aha and whatever your comments is, and we'll add it to the wrap up at the end along with Rob and Shelley. So aha moments in the comments. Just put aha in your comment, and guess what? There may not be a lot of them, but you know what, Shelley? Just as you're in the green room, I am so focused on Sede 2023. I don't care how many people are watching today, because I'm building the show for 2 years from now, because 2 years from now, I'm still going to be holding your hand and fueling your furnace. What are we talking about, Rob?
Talking about fire and desire, inspiration from within. That's what we're talking about, man. That's what you always coming with. You are the goodness, man, the goodness, and you help people see that inside themselves. I think, this is being able to have that, form those mental models that work, mental models that support us, man. I can't tell you how grateful I am for what you do. Just not what you do, man, but like how you do it and how it resonates with people. And so, I told you before, man, watching your content, it inspires me. And, the thing that I'm looking to do is just get better. I'm looking to be a better person. My goal is to be a world-class human, Stephen. World-class human. World-class human means the best that I can possibly be. And that means getting out of my own way. Sometimes I don't know how to do that. I tell you, the thing that I'm working on right now is to help me become this world-class human is working on not being so defensive, because I believe in what I believe in, but I have my defensive be kind of high. So that's something I'm working on with 2021, working on not being so defensive, not being submissive, but not being so defensive. So I threw that out there.
You just did. He's thrown it out there, Shelley. Welcome back. Oh, hang on. Welcome back, Shelley. Where are we? I'll get these right. Welcome back, Shelley, which is really cool. Rob, so let me do this first of all, Rob. First class. You just said use the expression first class. I know I've been fortunate through circumstances in my past life of doing a lot of first class travel and a lot of first class things in my life, and helicoptering into Monte Carlo and all kinds of stuff like that when I was a very different world to what I live in right now. One of the things about first class is expectation. One of the things about first class is example. One about first class is it's without exception. So when you travel on first class airlines and everything, and I flew on the A380 3 weeks after it started. I flew from London but down to Dubai, down here into Australia. And I booked economy, upgraded, little secret, booked on economy, used my points to be upgraded to business. And because I was traveling singularly, typically they'll take a single traveler on business and put them into first class. So I used to get upgraded quite a lot. I'm on the A380, 3 weeks into it flying, and the screen in my 16A seat didn't work. And oh my God, were they devastated. Before we actually started taxiing, they put me in a first class suite on the world's newest airline. I ended up, Shelley, Close your ears, Shelley. I was naked on a plane over Baghdad having a shower. That is the high point of my life, seriously. But when I landed in first class, and I was able to do it a few times, there was a certain sense of expectation in first class, Rob. There's a certain example that creates that expectation, and it happens without exception. So every single thing that you're doing, and if I go back to our little triangle here, every single thing that you do, Rob, from your end state to your strategies to your individual tactics, absolutely everything has to be, without exception, an example. And it needs to be with an expectation of example and exception. If you think of the Sede stuff, it's like that all the time. And I work my tail off to get it like that.
Yeah. That's
and
good,
Laurie,
man.
if you're still there listening, Laurie, the reason I didn't do the Academy show, even though I trialed it, and I know it'll work because it's going to have 4 cameras in here and I'm operating all 4 of them at once. I'll be sitting over there. I'll be moving here. I'll be using multiple microphones, all kinds of stuff, is that unless I can get it to be spot on and I've got everything else spot on before it, I won't do it. And so I'll be working on that in the next couple of days. So, Rob, if you want to be a first-class human, then you need to set an expectation by example without exception. What does that mean? Every single thing that comes out of your mouth, every single thing that you share has to have this level of expectation, example, and exception. Everything.
Yep.
Like, for example, in the context of myself, not that I drive much these days, or certainly not now, but I don't drive much because I don't have a car and I'm a bit of a city kid, so I'm always in the city. I'm mindful that if I'm walking down the street, to Sede 2023, I'm mindful if I'm walking down the street and someone cuts me off, I'm mindful about saying something or giving them the bird or reacting to them. Because I'm thinking, what if that person actually knows that I do videos and I inspire people and they see me reacting and behaving like that? You can go out once to go shopping and all those types of stuff. I'll actually present myself accordingly. And I'm thinking, well, you've got a mask on. No one knows it's you, but I know it's me. Go back to honor. Shelley, what are you honoring? And every time you walk out the door, I said that respectfully to a lady. If you want to be world-class, Rob, what's the expectation you're setting? What's the example? And is it without exception? That exception means, how often do you see a first class, whether it's Tiffany's, Louis Vuitton, the stuff that Tesla are doing, for example, the spacesuits and all that groovy stuff that they do? Do you ever see a prestigious first class brand do anything like Roger Federer? Do you ever see that guy not looking with an expectation example, and he's exceptional?
No, never.
Djokovic will score more Grand Slams than him. It's pretty obvious. But everyone, and there's the latest Rolex ad that's been playing. I'm not sure if it's around the world. And it's talking about no one plays tennis quite as beautiful as this man, whether he's on the court or off. It's not about the numbers. So, Shelley, in the context of just picking Rob's question and bringing it to you, without exception, what is the example that you're trying to set? So you create an expectation in you first. And that expectation is, I need to do something that honors me. Does that make sense?
So you want me to respond?
Yeah. Why not?
I mean, I'm trying to create a more, to create a better world. I'm trying to have influence into creating a world that's based on equality, a world that's based on fairness. And the thing I was doing with kindness was really around LinkedIn. It was focused on the bullying that happens there, more than more than other avenues. I was really focused on the online bullying that goes on LinkedIn, because I work with that population. I work at the university. I work with students who fear to own their space on LinkedIn because they fear that they're not worthy, or they fear they're going to be reprimanded, or they fear they're going to be bullied. And I want to change that narrative for them. I want them to see their value. Just like I realized that I have to see my value after this episode tonight.
What you need to do, and Rob's disappeared. He might have lost his phone battery or something, or however he's doing what he's doing. We'll drop him back in if he comes back in again. I did this in episode something of season 1 when I was talking to Andrea Sanchez. One of the things we talked about is people, if you're going to create a community, you want people who are coming for like-minded. I'm not going to get this exactly right, as I said to Andrea, but you want people who are like-minded. You want people to be some type of example. Our man Rob's back. We lost him. So if you're creating a community, people are going to come because of something like-minded. They're going to come because of the example. They're going to come because you enlighten them in some way. And I'll come back to that in a moment. And they're going to come because you educate them.
Mm.
I did this in a post yesterday, or a comment to a post. If you create anything in life, whether it's content online, whether it's your relationships that you're in with loved ones, Rob's relationship with his wife and his children, for example, my relationship with the two of you, make it enlightening so it touches their soul. Make it educating so it adds to their smarts. And make it enjoyable so it puts a smile on their dial. If you live your life touching someone's soul, adding to their smarts and making them smile, you'll create a like-minded community by your example where you've enlightened them, educated them, they'll enjoy it and they'll keep coming. That's what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Is it a slow burn? Yes, it is. Is it got slower because things have just got so diverse with all the different things that you can do right now? Yes. Have we got into a society now where people are wanting expectation immediately? Are we being inundated by everyone who's got the greatest idea on how to do things? I only yesterday got someone approaching me about how they could help me make videos. That's like me writing to Rob and saying, Rob, let me talk to you about your daughter. What experience do you have, Steve? I don't know, mate, but I walked past I walked past a teenage girl in a supermarket. That means I know about them. So one of the things that you want to do as we head towards wrap up, if you want to create a sense of community, and listen to this internally for you, you've got to be like-minded. You've got to create a sense of example. You've got to have a sense of enlightenment where you're touching people's souls and making them feel really connected to you. And then you've got to educate them. Most people are rolling up going, here's my stuff or here's my community join. Why? What example are you? What is it going to do for me? How are you going to help me and make me grow? I don't know. It's my community and I really love it and I'd love you to be involved. I've got a group and I want you to join it. What's your commitment to helping someone through their crossroad and conflict? And guess what? The community of self requires you to be like-minded to you, Shelley. It requires you to be an example that Rob's talking about. It requires you to touch your soul. It requires you to educate yourself. What's Rob doing in the community of his family? Watching YouTube videos about how to get through the process of a teenage daughter dating. He's doing it anyway. Make sense? Rob, have you got any contribution for that or any comments to that as I just clean boards up and get ready to finalize all of this?
No, I think you summarized it beautifully. You know, the community wraparound. You know, being committed to the mission. I mean, you just touched on a variety of things. There's not much I can add to that.
Shelley, what is your? We're doing aha moments now, which we used to do in season 2, and then I'll also go to. So if anyone's watching, or whoever is watching, thank you. Put your aha moments down. Just put aha and whatever your aha moment is. Shelley.
Can I have a couple?
Well, you're the lady on the show, so you're in charge.
Okay, then I have a couple.
Isn't that right, Rob?
I'm going to take full advantage of it.
Go for it.
The refinement piece really is an aha moment for me because I can be kind of black and white in my thinking. Yep. And it's kind of holding me back, and I see that it's holding me back. So having that idea of refining something really is a nice way of kind of almost designing something, and I love to design. So aha around refining and designing as opposed to that way of thinking that just closes doors, and I can do that. Yep. The other one was when you asked what I was honoring. because it's something that I'm struggling with. I often lately, at least lately, I go through phases, I guess, but for sure, I'm thinking about how everything I do, I don't feel it's enough. So I push so far, and then realize I've worn myself thin without honoring what I already have and what I've already done. I don't take enough time to honor some of the fantastic things I've done, and then I'm on to something else, and then that kind of takes such a little place. But I really want to honor all the work I've done and the experience that I've had. Yeah, because I tend to forget about it. I'm on to something else.
Cool. Rob?
Aha for me is just, you talk about the crossroads and the conflicts and how those are just a part of the journey, but the commitment keeps you on the path. And you can't get away from conflicts. You can't get away from crossroads. It's all part of the journey. But the commitment is the fuel in the tank to keep you on the road. And I can say that a variety of ways. I can formulate that commitment as the gas in the tank, the fuel in the fire, the wings to help you soar. The commitment is the extra energy for the long haul. I mean, it's the commitment. And so whatever you can do to strengthen your commitment on a daily basis to then make it habitual, as we were talking about, you are on something. You are on fire. Yeah. That was my aha moment.
Cool. Okay. Read that one out for me, Rob. What does that say?
Maintaining focus, yes, and holding on to our inspiration. Aha.
Shelley, read that one out for me.
The disruption. This was my aha moment. Has me thinking, and now that I identify that, I know where I am going again.
So that was disruption, right? That's Angel Lady. Hello, Angel Lady. How you doing? What's that one say, Rob?
Stephen, you revalued what I am doing with my community. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Laurie, you need to come on the show. I've got to get you to come on the show. So there you go. And Angel Lady, you're always welcome to rejoin us as well. Revalue. Okay. Let's do this, everyone. Thank you for those. I really appreciate it. Let me bring this back in and just do some summary on all of this stuff and remove that one. Beautiful. Shelley, you said that refine and honor. I just want to combine those two together. If you don't refine, you'll live a black and white life, which is open and closed choices. And when you're open and closed, it's either one or the other, because remember, we said 90% of the time people are just being closed. So you'll struggle. When you struggle, you'll doubt. When you doubt, you'll have fatigue. And your fatigue will create a failure in you that will be in the form of thinking you've got other choices. And those other choices, guess what they do? They go back up to closed questions, which fuels the struggle, fuels the doubt, fuels the fatigue, and fuels the failure. And you keep it. How often does this happen to you, Shelley? And it's happened to me throughout my life. How often do you find yourself never-endingly going back to more selections and more choices? What do we call that? The next bright, shiny object. Because we always live in black and white. We're always looking for closed questions. Is this working? Yes or no? How do you know it's not working? How do you know it's not pointing you to something else? Rob, you said commitment paths. Listen to this, Rob. Conflict and crossroads is life's GPS.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are trying to avoid conflict. They're trying to avoid the crossroads. It's like a pilot avoiding the radar that's saying that between a London and Dubai flight or a Sydney to LA flight of 16 hours, 99% of the time it's off course. But that's okay, because the conflict and the crossroads of being off course as you fly south of Hawaii when you're supposed to be north is fine, because I'm going to ignore the radar. And most people are ignoring conflict and crossroads because they think they failed if they come across one. Laurie and Angel Lady Sarah, Disruption is linked directly to your failure selection of constantly thinking you've got other choices, because you keep asking yourself, is this working? As opposed to, have I honored the refinement to what I believe to be true? And in terms of Laurie, your revalue, you've revalued what you're doing to your community because you are a walking example of what you do for them. You do enlighten, you do educate, and the beautiful imagery that you provide is very enjoyable. Sarah, everything you're doing with success in your corporate life is coming with conflict and crossroads. And beautiful angel lady, the reason it keeps coming is it's the GPS of life telling you you're slightly off course, but go back, and go back. Live your life less on reacting to conflict and crossroads, but refining what they're telling you. Any parting comments as we wrap all of this up? Thank you so much for doing this, guys. I really appreciate it. Any parting comments, Shelley?
Like, that was, wow. I don't know. I'm here for a reason. That is I think we're put in places when we least expect it, but it's exactly where we should be. And I needed to, you don't know how much I needed to be here tonight.
You're welcome, beautiful. My comment about you losing focus, I totally disagree with you. It's like saying Rob doesn't know how to raise his daughter, and she's entered the dating scene in her teenage years. So what is he doing? He's refining his parenting by understanding, is there any other way I can do it? Rob hasn't lost focus on his principles and action to bring his daughter up. He's just refining his way of doing it because he has to, because it's a new crossroad. He's come to the crossroad, and I mentioned it even though I don't exactly know. I've got an idea of the age of your children and stuff. The same with you, Shelley. If you say to me you've lost your commitment, I don't believe you, and I don't think it's true. What you have lost is you've lost sight of why you started.
Yeah.
Rob, have you got any comments, my friend?
Yeah, Matt, that vision, that vision for the future, and verbalizing it and really getting clear. This whole conversation is about, cultivating clarity, man. Like cultivating clarity. And when you get clear on that mission, and everything gets easier because the less thinking you have to do, the less conflict, as you were saying earlier. Sometimes the conflict is the inner conflict. So the more focus, more clarity you have, the less decisions you have to make. And that word refine, again, that aha for me was that refinery. Even though I've been doing it, sometimes saying it and hearing it gives you a different look at it. And now I can refine even better. So thank you.
And what you're refining is the honor to your principles and actions of why you started in the first place. Because everyone can rattle off commitment and everyone can rattle off mission statements. Here's my focus. Here's my take. My seminar in a sentence on mission statements. Mission statements are hanging on the wall, but your people and processes are making it happen down the hall. Too many people are writing what they're going to do. Start being what you're going to do. Simple as that. Thanks so much for coming on the show, guys. It's really, really cool.
Thank you, brother.
Really appreciate it. See you soon. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Kelly.
Start investing in the world called your dreams.